Hi, Valerie. Thank you so much
Hello.
on my podcast today.
I'm so happy to be here. I haven't seen you in so long.
I know. I don't know how time goes so quickly, but all I do know is that you are a busy bee and you are an author of a new book called Burn the Map, correct?
Yes.
And tell me when it came out and really the heart and soul behind this, which I've read it. It's really an amazing book. I love so much about it because it gives real life examples and tools for everyone to use and real life stories that we can all, most people can relate to. So tell me a little bit more about the inspiration that really made you pull the trigger to write this book.
Yes. Thank you. I guess that a book about courage, because really courage is at the core of this book. And since you read it, has been on my heart for a while. But when I look back at what I was going to write when I wanted to write that book, I look at it now and go, wow, it wasn't even good. It wasn't. And so I think part of it, Terry, is that it was just the right time
Mhm.
for me to send this message out. And also, I've been known for my book, Still Standing After All the Tears. That's the most, that I'm known for is that book. And
Yes.
in that book, that was, my journey through my daughter's addiction. And while I didn't tell all the Jerry Springer details, it's more focused on that journey and more importantly, how to go through it with my 9 weapons of hope that I discovered just literally clawing my way through the darkness. So, what I decided to do is that's one thing to be still standing, and it's one thing to overcome whatever. It doesn't have to have anything to do with my story, but it's quite another to get to somewhere else, to get to another place in life.
Mm.
And not in spite of what's happened to us, but because of it. And I
Mm.
think that's what's really important is that so many people are waiting when life burns their map or they burn their own. However it happens and you're standing in the rubble or you've had this disappointment, this massive loss, this 2x4 upside the head, as I call it, and you're just standing there going, what do I do? I don't know what to do. So it's not, as you know, a step by step, oh, here's what you do. But it's in these perspectives and stories and
Mm.
snippets of other people's stories that I, like you said, everyone can find themselves somewhere, I think, in the book. But I really feel like I know you agree based on your messaging, but I honestly believe that courage is more important than anything else. And the first time I said that, I literally pictured other people on the other side of the camera going, what? More important than God or oxygen? And like you read, I said, yeah, okay, so maybe it's not as important as God, but it's right up there with oxygen
Mm.
because there is, forget what's happened to you, Terry, what's happened to me or anybody else. Let's just talk about everyday life.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, you have to be courageous to get through this life. And so how would you describe courage now for you?
For me, I
Hmm.
think, for me, it's the courage to not allow the fear, the loss, my grief to consume me.
Mm.
So, I live with a massive hole in my heart because my daughter was murdered. And I realized after her death, it was different than any other loss I'd sustained.
Mm.
Losing a child, there's nothing like that. And
Mhm.
then there's this whole murder aspect, which is a whole nother thing that someone decided that her life wasn't worth living. And they made the decision to take her out. And so, we've got this long road to justice and all this. So I live with this massive hole, and I realized it's different than when I lost my dad. It's different when my grandparents. It's different. There's nothing like it. And
Mm-mm.
I don't mean to say my loss is bigger than anyone else's. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah.
And so I realized right away, Terry, this hole in my heart's not going anywhere. And I feel like some people could relate to that if they lost a husband or a sibling too, whatever. And so it's so easy for us to crawl inside the holes in our heart,
Oh,
to
yes.
succumb to fear, to allow the shame to um, make us voiceless, to allow the guilt to eat us up. And so I think courage is just saying, okay, yeah, I feel grief.
Hmm.
Do you know that it's been 9 years this month on the 28th since Jamie died?
Oh,
And I
wow.
literally still have moments where I go, oh my gosh, she's never coming back. These kind of like shocking moments.
Yeah.
I cry out of nowhere. I feel my grief. I think that's part of it is that we need to allow ourselves, it's okay to feel, but we cannot let feelings run our lives.
That's huge. What you just said, I think, is huge in this process because it's not the absence of the grief or the fear or all these different things that you go through, which is expected. It's normal to, especially with what you've lost in your life. Like it's something, like you said, the hole's always going to be there. And I think the misconception is that you don't want to have to feel that feeling. You want them to go away. And it's not that. It's feeling it, getting through it on the other side, and knowing it's still going to be that hole in there. But how do I not let it consume me and take me down, and down in a hole that I can't get out of? And how can I still find my courage? Is this correct? In the middle of a storm, of a tornado inside your soul. So, how do you find that, knowing it's going to still be there, but how
I
do
think
you
that
change
you
from
have, first
that
of all, you
to
have to
courage?
accept it, right?
Okay.
We have to accept it. I
Yeah.
mean, life is tough,
Mm.
and I think that's different. Motivational speakers and people like me, they don't stand up and first thing out of their mouth is life is tough. But I want to be real with people. They
Mm.
already know life's tough. And it's tougher for some of us than others, but there's nothing easy about this life. And no one's going to escape it without loss, without being betrayed, without disappointment. And, the list goes on and on. And so, if this is the reality that we are in, let's not live in a different reality. Let's live in the real world that says these things are going to happen to us.
Yes.
They're going to hurt. They're going to make us feel all sorts of feelings. And sometimes they come and go.
Mm.
I could look at a picture of Jamie and just smile and think about something funny she did. She was hilarious, right? And I think about that. Other times I'm like, oh no, so they come and go.
Mm.
And so I think what we have to make sure to do is to say, every moment, Terry, we're standing at a crossroads.
Mhm.
We're always standing at a crossroads before two choices.
Yeah.
And, let's just say there are two. Typically, there are probably more, but let's say there's two. So I sustained this massive loss, the unimaginable, losing a child. What next?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have to ask ourselves in all these situations. And the reason I say courage is at the core of everything is because fear is the enemy's number one tool. If
Mhm.
we stay in fear, we will never do anything. We won't write the book. We won't even just be happy for 5 minutes.
Right.
We have to find you have, and here's the thing too, Terry, that people think, and you deal with this, I'm sure, all the time, that other people are courageous because they run into burning buildings and they drag people off the battlefield and they bungee jump, whatever it is. Maybe they're fearless in that particular thing, that bungee jumping moment, but
Mhm.
they might be afraid of a spider. Everybody has fear. There's no such thing as fearless. It is a word that we've used way too much. I like to use two words: fear less. We
Mm.
can fear
Oh,
less,
that's good.
but
Like
there's no way that we are ever going to be fearless. So, I
mm.
mean, why don't we accept the fact that life is scary, that even the most badass warriors, like I talked about my friend Johnny, that is a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, now a commercial pilot, and he's terrified of heights. So,
I love
why?
that.
So, guess what he does? He does it anyway.
Does it
And that's the
anyway.
thing. I
Feel
think
the
that's the
fear?
key to the whole thing is that and I can prove that every single person's courageous. I
Mm.
don't care. Line them up, Terry. I can
Okay.
prove it.
I like this. I
Have
think
you
that's
ever ridden a
our new
bike?
journey, our new
Yeah. Have you ever
journey
ridden a
together.
bike? When you were 6 years old and you rode a bike, terrified, you got through it.
Did.
Ever been on a date? Ever been on a job interview? We can go through a list of things that people have faced. So there's proof that everybody's courageous, but courage just looks different for different people. And
Did.
I can't imagine going to war.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine being a police officer. I'd be terrified every minute.
Yes.
So I think courage is different for everybody.
I think you and I know that from the work I've done. Also, it's a word I never even knew of what that really meant until I went through it myself. And then I saw all these other women going through it, and they didn't understand to put a word to what they do every single day. And some of it, we just do what we do. Or a lot of people,
Yes.
you just get through it, you get up and you just do it, but you don't put a word to it. And I think that's what you're doing in your book. And you're really, and I think also the importance of it, like you just said, like some people, it's just getting out of bed is courageous. But the more you put an identity to it, I think that it becomes like a muscle. When you use it, it becomes stronger. And then you know that you can go to it. Like, wait, I am courageous. And so when you face another situation, which you will,
Yes.
till the end of our lives, we will face a lot of things that are painful. And a
And I
lot,
think the older we get, it increases.
yes,
We
yes,
lose more people. I mean, we have more ailments. I mean, it's harder the older we get. So instead of being a victim and saying, well, this is terrible and I hate this. And I mean, nobody likes it. We'd all like life to be smooth sailing, but I don't know what planet you're living on. Life is not smooth sailing. I know one person that kind of seems like life is smooth sailing for them.
one person. And I bet that person still has some things that they're not talking about.
Because I'm only seeing what's above the surface.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. And I just love so much what you're shining a light on here from your own story. I look at you in your book as like this lighthouse, shining a light on a difficult subject, but it's all part of all of us. And we don't like to talk about, the difficulties we're going through. A lot of people don't, but it makes us feel more human, more connected that, we're not alone. And if you can make it through this and you can find something good out of something so terrible, so painful, then you can too, whoever's listening right now. And that is also what I have learned in my own life. The more we share these stories, which you have so many in your book, not just yours, but other people's stories, the more that we can see that we are just like them, just like you. We have the ability. And the word that you also used, which I loved, was choice. We have two C words already, courage and
That's right. Never
choice.
thought about that. Two C words, kind of like the F word.
Yes, I like that word. Yes. And we talked about that. It's that F word. And it's a part of our life and it's how we look at it and how we use it. Just
Can
like,
I actually say that
yes,
is part of, you asked, how I do it. That F word is critical to how I get through. And when I first started using the F word way back when, and still standing after all the tears in my events and stuff, it was like, oh, the F word, and I thought, yeah, well, I'm being tongue in cheek, of course, because I have that personality, but it's really a good way to look at forgiveness is being the F word. And I think because I told you the other day why I call it the F word, because it's effing hard.
yes.
It's hard to forgive someone who just maybe even said something bad about you, or betrayed you in a small way.
Mm,
Even small things can be hard to forgive because we get caught up, we get confused.
mm,
That's not fair.
yes,
There's another F word. It's not fair, and they don't deserve it.
yes.
And I would say most of the time, none of us deserve it. But I was just kind of like a God and like, well, he forgives me for everything. So who do I think I am that I'm running around withholding
Mm,
forgiveness? And so I learned about forgiveness after Jamie was shot the first time. So my daughter was shot when she was 18 and it was near fatal. It was terrible. It was like a miracle she survived. And he did end up going to prison for 10 years. It's a different guy than the guy that killed her. It's, 12 years later. But um, I started to realize that I just hated him.
mm,
And I wanted every bad thing to happen to him. And I remember sitting in this little room outside the ICU at this trauma hospital and going, you know what I could do right now? I could go, they were on the hunt for the guy, right? And I go, I could find him myself, shoot him. I don't even have a gun, right? And I
right.
said, I could shoot him, kill him, drop to my knees and ask for forgiveness and sleep like a baby.
Mm.
Now, that's an angry mom speaking.
Of course.
Obviously, I could
And
never
everyone can
do
relate.
that.
Yes.
But I realized shortly after that this thing was going to kill me. It was going to eat me up if I didn't learn how to forgive
Yeah.
him. So I learned to separate justice and forgiveness. And that's the key for everyone, no matter what you're going through. If it has nothing to do with the justice system, it's still the same premise that it's not about whether they deserve it. It's about how you're going to live your life.
Yes.
And thankfully, I learned that. And I learned to run around using the F word on everybody because when the guy killed my daughter and he mocked me, he laughed at me in court.
Mm.
We haven't had our trial yet, but in the preliminary hearing, all sorts of stuff. But Terry, if I don't forgive him, and by the way, my friends, I've taken that forgiveness back many, many times.
It's like
I've had to keep
write this.
repeating the F word.
Yeah, this moment I don't want to forgive, but I'll do it tomorrow. Yes, I
Yeah.
could fully understand that,
Right.
especially that particular situation. I mean, this is such an important subject we're talking about right now. I really want the audience to understand this. I mean, just think about it for a second. When you and whoever's listening right now, just think about forgiving someone who killed your daughter. So tell me more. And let's dive into this. And anybody listening, how do you forgive the unthinkable, the person that's done the unthinkable? And why? And the why behind it.
Yeah. Well, what's kind of interesting is just a quick backstory is that I used to watch shows on the news or whatever of people whose children had been murdered.
Yeah.
And they would say, "Oh, but I've forgiven him." And I was going, "Who are these people?
Right.
Oh, they must be a pastor's kid or like, I don't know what's going on here. Who's forgiving someone who killed? I would never, that never word. I
Hmm.
would never do that, blah, blah, blah." And then there I was. You know how many times we think we would act a certain way or react a certain way until we're in a situation?
Yeah.
And, again, that first time I started to think that what I really started thinking about this first guy that shot Jamie was I want him to get out of prison and be a better person. That's what I really want. I don't
Yeah.
want him to go do it again to someone else. I mean, why would I want that? So I started to pray for him a lot. So now I'm praying for this guy who almost killed my daughter.
Yes.
And then I started realizing how different that felt for me to be hopeful for him. I don't have any idea where he is today. I think he got in trouble after and all that, um, but it felt better for me to do that. And so maybe it's a little self-serving and selfish, Terry. I just felt like it felt better for me to pray for this guy and hope for him to be a better person than to be angry and bitter and want revenge and live in fear. I didn't know if he turned out he was in a gang. My daughter was hanging out with people in gangs,
Right.
and I didn't know if they were going to come and kill us. I didn't want to live like that.
No, because it's what you're feeling inside. You're feeling all those emotions that you're feeling about this other person, and that is attaching inside your body and into your soul, versus love and compassion, even to the most horrible person or whoever, whatever has happened in this person's life to get him where he's at today and do such horrible things. It's still something that lives when you have compassion for someone, then you feel more at peace inside your heart. And I had to do the same thing. I'm not in such a dramatic and horrible situation as yours.
Yeah, but we shouldn't compare our situations. I'm really clear about that. I think it's
Yeah.
important that I never want anyone to look at my story and say, "Oh, well, mine's nothing because, she went through that." I just hope I can be, like you said, like a lighthouse, but I don't want anyone to compare and minimize what they're going through because whatever they're going through, it's real
Yeah.
and it's hard and it hurts.
I like that. And thank you for clarifying that. I think that's a really, really important for everyone to understand. Your pain, your situation, don't diminish it, because it is your situation. But any kind of, and I still work with this forgiveness thing. It's something I'm really, really wanting to shine a light on more with the courage, and also forgiveness is a part of it because, whatever we can't forgive is stuck to us.
Right.
It's
And Terry, a lot
inside.
of times the things that we're not forgiving, the other person doesn't even know. That's what hit me what helped me a lot with the first guy that shot Jamie is I was thinking, he doesn't even care if I exist. He has no idea and couldn't give a what if I'm over here forgiving him or not. So
Right.
I realized it wasn't even about him. It had nothing to do with him. The prayer had to do with him. The forgiveness had nothing to do with him. I still wanted him to go to prison for the
Right.
longest possible time.
Yeah, it's making
That's
it
called justice.
accountable. That's accountability. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yes.
And so the guy now that killed my daughter, that's the one that I've had a hard time. But I would honestly tell you, Terry, it's crazy, really. It's only because of all the work I've done. You mentioned this earlier, doing the work. You cannot skate by, my friends. You can't skate by overcoming fear or the grip of grief or whatever it is that's got you down, the guilt, the shame. You can't just, phone it in. You're going to have to do the work to get there.
Mhm.
And this has been almost 25 years that this entire process of Jamie's addiction and shooting the first time and being murdered and now 9 years and we haven't had a trial yet. And so you learn,
I know.
you learn as you go. And I tried to I live what I teach. I don't say things because they sound good or they sound cute.
Right.
I live them. But you mentioned something, Terry, that this forgiveness thing is a hard one. And so I was saying, I've taken it back a few times. I go to court and he mocks me, and it's like, I just hope I get a phone call that he was killed in prison. I
Right.
mean, I'm just being honest.
That's honesty. Yes.
I
I
mean,
can relate.
I'm not saying I would throw a party. I would
Right.
probably cry,
Right.
but then I wouldn't have to go to a trial where I know we're going to hear all sorts of horrible things. And, my daughter was shot 7 times, and I'm going to hear it, and she was unarmed, and and it was over nothing.
Yes.
And so it just, I'd rather avoid that, because
Yeah.
that's fear talking. I
Yes.
would rather avoid it altogether. So I take it back sometimes when he pulls shenanigans, or when he got out on bail, when he's been charged with first degree murder, and on and on and on it goes. But again, Terry, this could eat me up so quickly.
And take you down.
Not only would I not be doing this,
Yes.
okay, if I had not used the F word
Yes.
on in all, and you know what, I forgave my daughter for everything she did in her addiction. I mean, I've been running around, effing everybody. And so, oh, I hope no one took that wrong. And but I mean, so forget the forgiveness of this thing eating me up, and I wouldn't be doing this with you, and I wouldn't be writing books. How would my life be?
Yeah, really true.
Just everyday life. How is it when we're running around giving our power to other people?
I love you just said that, because that's what was running through in my brain as you were speaking about power. That you really, when you don't forgive, and the distinction also is that you have to make people accountable for their actions if you can. You do your best and then let it go. But you also don't want to give your power away for the rest of your life. Why would you do that to someone who's done something to try to hurt you or your family, or then you're giving all your power away. The best revenge is
Yeah,
to take back that power. And
totally. So they hurt you,
not,
and then on top of that, they're going to consume the rest of your life. I mean, that, if you really think about it, it's stupid,
yeah.
for us to live with all this anger and bitterness. And so here's the thing: he's being charged with 50 to life, because it's California and they stayed the death penalty. So first degree murder is now 50 to life, because he used a gun. He has 25 and 25 running consecutively. It's like 50 to life. Do you think we want him to get fifth life? Yes,
Mm,
100%. I hope he never sees the light of day.
yes.
It's what you said, Terry. It's called accountability,
Yes.
and it is justice, and he has to pay for what he did.
Hmm.
But we have all come, my son Sean, he's had a long road too, to longer than me to get to the F word. And my husband Rich, we've decided that we have to accept whatever happens. He could be acquitted. I mean, you don't know what juries will do. Sometimes there's tons of evidence and they let people off, and other times, you just don't know.
So you're preparing
So
yourself for this, whatever
yeah,
outcome.
we have to know, we know in our souls, Terry, that if we sat there and they said not guilty, it would crush us, but not
Hmm.
for long.
Here, let's say that again. Not for
It
long.
would crush us, but not for long.
Not for long. And tell us why not for long and how you would handle
Because
that.
I refuse. I refuse to allow what this guy blew a hole in my heart. He doesn't get any more of me. That's it.
I love this so
Done.
much. Okay, so this is so powerful. There's so many lessons in what we are talking about, life lessons for everyone listening today. These are the most powerful things you could ever hear in your entire life. And I want this book, your book, to get it to as many people as possible. And if you're listening right now, you say, well, how do I start on the most difficult thing on the planet? And that's to forgive. Some people, it's very difficult, like you said. But do you really want to give your power away? And how do you find your courage in the darkest days, when you're in the darkest hole? So this book, tell the people that are listening today what tools they're going to gain by reading your book. And I want everyone to grab it today. It will be like a tool that you will always keep going back to.
Yeah, I've been hearing that from people that they feel like it's a book they could flip back into a certain section
Mhm.
or even reread. I think that the one thing that's great about it too is, as you know, it's not a long book.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's great. But boy, is it powerful. And I definitely reread a few pages because I wanted to go back, or I would mark a page to go back, because everything was just so there's just so much in it that I could take away, and anyone can take away from it.
Yeah, I think what people are really going to learn, especially with those other stories that you mentioned, is that courage looks different for everybody. And that's good. Okay. It's not even just okay. That's good. We all have different situations. And I know I interviewed several people for the book, and a couple of people telling me, well, I don't know why you want to put me in a book about courage. I'm not courageous. And you kind of touched on this earlier, is that people don't see themselves. It's so easy to see the bravery in other people. It's so
Hmm.
easy to look at that person and go, oh, wow. Even if your situation's more difficult, for some reason, we see other people differently. I will watch sometimes a show, maybe a mom who's lost a daughter to a murder, because I'm a true crime junkie too. I know that's weird.
Especially
I know
now.
it's weird.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will think, oh, oh my God, how did she? Oh, this poor lady, I can't believe she's going through this. And it will literally be like a few minutes later, I'll go, oh my God, that's me. Because we so easily see other people and the
Mhm.
courage that they have, and we are slow to recognize it in ourselves. And I think that when you go through Burn the Map, I think that's one of the things that people are going to take away. Yeah, that's right. I am too. And I can do this too. Because there's so many different types of challenges that
Yes.
I touch on in this book. So many different types of also the perspectives that people bring,
Hmm.
and very practical tips on how to shift yourself out of an attitude situation. Because honestly, everything starts with a thought. And if we can't master our mindset, we're going to have a hard time mastering anything else.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you
And
100%.
gratitude, oh, gratitude. We didn't even touch on that, but that's another thing that, okay, it's the buzzword lately, gratitude. Let me tell you what, you read that section and it is going to change your life. Literally. I'm
Yes.
not saying that metaphorically. I'm saying it will literally change your life if you get into the practice of intentional gratitude.
Yes.
So I get off of a call with the district attorney about, 50 to life, and we might finally have a trial scheduled in September. And it's like, I want this guy to die and all this stuff. What do? I go straight to my gratitude box
Yeah, I
and I
love
start putting
gratitude
stuff
box.
in.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if I've got over 3,000 pieces of gratitude, I counted them.
So
But I'm
good.
sitting here going, if I don't do that, Terry, do you know what happens? Everyone can relate to this. Something happens and the rest of your day is ruined.
Yeah.
Something happens and the rest of your week is ruined. And maybe the rest of your life,
Whew,
because
that's
you can't get
powerful.
past that thing.
Yes, powerful. There's so much in this book that it will change people's lives. And it changed my life reading it. There was little
Oh,
things that
thank
I
you.
picked out, and I've done a lot of work in all these things. I related to so much of what you were talking about. And sometimes it takes a whole lifetime to figure out these things. Like, oh, you start with gratitude or forgiveness, and how do you find courage? There's all these things, and it happens when it happens. But if you start to kind of have a little hope that you can have all these things and
Yes.
tools, and this book gives that to you. And so before we leave this conversation, which I just want to keep going and going on this conversation, and we will have another one. I want people to understand what burn the map means, and maybe give them one tool to leave today to start on, just one little step, and how to get your book.
Okay. So you can get Burn the Map at Amazon, of course, Amazon, where you get everything. I don't
Yes,
know how I used to shop before Amazon.
I know.
It's crazy. So we can get it. You can get it at Amazon. You can also go to valeriesilveira.com. And there's links there. I also wanted to mention that I have a podcast too, which Terry, I need to get you on my podcast.
I'd love to.
I'm doing a 14-week right now, and I'm, a few weeks into it, and I'm literally going through and talking about each of the concepts and I've got my son on some episodes. I've got some snippets that I'm filming of some of the people in the book. So if you're not a reader, you can always listen to that. So my podcast it's called Brave, Bold, and Unfiltered. And you can listen to it on any podcast app, or I have it on YouTube. So
Wonderful.
on my Valerie Silveira YouTube channel, I have Brave, Bold, and Unfiltered. So you can go through and listen to it too. Burn the Map is really because we think falsely that if we do things right in life, if we follow the plan, we have a plan, we're an honest person, we do everything that's expected of us, we pray enough, fill in the blanks, that our life should go in a certain direction. I thought that. And then all hell broke loose
Mm.
out of nowhere. It was just like, the darkness just entered my life. And it wasn't from it was, had to do with my daughter. It really wasn't anything I did. Not saying I'm perfect or anything, but so I feel like sometimes life burns the map for you, Terry. It literally, you're on a plan, you got a path, and out comes the lighter, and life torches your plan. It could be that call, like April in the book, aggressive breast cancer.
Hmm. Yeah, and the map is completely changed forever.
Completely changed.
Mm.
It's okay because you can find another one. But in that moment, you're standing in the ashes and you're
Mhm.
standing in the rubble and you're just wondering, what in the hell do I do next? And I think, and how about the story about Jamie's friend who was in addiction with her
Oh,
and has a daughter named after her now, and she's been clean for years now. And I mean, that's a kind of person who probably thought her map would never be different.
exactly. Exactly.
And so I just think that it doesn't matter how it happened,
Mm.
whether you torched it yourself, you made choices, or life just came and smacked you upside the head. It's really all about what do we do next, and that it's okay. It's okay for us to let go of the control that we thought we had in this life, because you can control four things: your thoughts, your words, your feelings, and your actions. And
Mm.
that's just about it. Right? I mean,
That's really, really important. We say that one more time.
yeah. So I think that's my
Listen.
tip. You
Yeah.
can control four things. And they have to learn. I mean, you really got to catch that operative word there.
Hmm.
Your thoughts. I know they come out of nowhere. I know, me too. But you can control them because you get to decide what happens next.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's important too about feelings, because I think people might disagree with that. Oh, I can't control my feelings. They come out of nowhere. It's true. A smell, a sound, a song, and we feel.
Hmm.
But we always get to decide what happens next
Yes.
once those feelings come.
Yes.
So it's your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your feelings. You get to control all of those things. You don't get to control what anyone else thinks about you. You don't get to control the drivers on the road. You don't get to control what people say about you. You don't get to control most of the things in your life are outside of your control. And that's scary.
Hmm.
And so what do? We cling, we grasp, we claw at anything that we can try to control.
Yes.
And so I really tried to be careful not to, I couldn't control my daughter was dying before my eyes for all 15 years. It's easy for us to then try to grab a hold of something else.
Yes, I mean, and something healthy like that, like the four things that you just talked about, will give us a sense of stability. Once you know that, when you know there's something inside that you can control or change, even if you have the thoughts, you can say, "Oh, I don't want to think that. I'm going to think something different right now." So that's taking charge of it and control of it. But that will give you
Hey,
some
I think that's the
confidence.
tip. Sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt you, Terry.
gotcha.
That's the tip. That's the tip I'll give them right straight from the book. I think it's one of the best things I've ever come up with, and it's the simplest.
Good.
And it's your disruptor word.
Oh, yes, yes, that was
So when
great.
a negative, self-defeating, just those thoughts, they come to all of us, and they do come out of nowhere. You have a thought, you need to disrupt the thought before it takes over your life or has you doing something or not doing something. So the disruptor word needs to be something that's very, very powerful to you.
Mm.
My disruptor word is legacy. And it's
Ah.
because when I told my husband, Rich, I don't want to be here anymore, in Jamie's addiction, toward the end of it, where I couldn't take it anymore, I couldn't save her, it was killing me. And you know what happened right after that? I said, no, that will not be my legacy. My legacy is not going to be a sad, lonely old woman that was taken out by the beast, that was taken out by this situation, that allowed other people to destroy her. This is not going to be my life. I was determined. Now, I had no idea where I was going, how I was going to get there,
Right.
but
But
I just
that was
knew,
important.
Terry,
Yes.
I was not put on this planet for that reason. That can't be.
Yeah.
It just can't be that would be the period at the end of my story. And so legacy is the word that I use. And I want to make sure that people listening understand that words or thoughts turn into words in like a half a nanosecond.
Hmm.
You'll probably find yourself using it more for words than thoughts.
Hmm.
It would be good if we could catch ourselves in the thought mode,
Yes.
but typically words fly out of our mouths.
Yes.
And here's just one example, which I did put in the book, and I literally had done it while I was writing the book. I'm writing about all this stuff and I'm, still trying to get better at all of it.
Of course.
Right.
What happened with me too in my book.
So I go, you idiot. I dropped something, whatever. I go, you idiot. I said it out loud.
Ah,
And then I said legacy. And then what's really important is don't leave a vacuum. When you disrupt that negative thought, replace it quickly.
so, this is so powerful.
Then I said something good about myself.
Yeah.
I mean, right away, I told myself,
Yes.
because just think about how something so little like that, Terry, you idiot. Okay, you think that's innocuous. You think, oh, it's no big deal. That's benign. It's not going to hurt anything. I don't know. I think it opens the door for further thoughts and further negative words. And I think a lot of our negative words are said about ourselves.
Oh, couldn't agree more about that. And you don't know where some of these things come from, and it's okay. Just know that that's not what you want. And what do you want? And what do you want? That one word, the disruptor word, is like your why in life. What do you want? What do
Yes.
you want for yourself? And does that thought help support it or not? So everyone listening, I absolutely love this so much. I'm going to write down my disruptor word.
I
And
can't wait to hear it.
yes, I'm going to do it. I want everyone right now just to take a few minutes after you listen to this podcast and find out what that disruptor word is. And remember, there's another step. When there's a vacuum, when you change that, when you stop it, you have to fill it with something that is true and meaningful and that supports your disruptor word.
You know what? You said the most important thing. You said that's true. Because
Mhm.
guess what? The truth is, I'm not an idiot.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that is a really important distinction. I should have talked to you before I wrote the book.
Well, one of the things I know we could just keep talking. One of the people I really admire is she's been doing this. It's called The Work. Byron Katie. She's been around for 20 something years or plus. And what happened in her story is that one day she was just so immobilized by something that happened that she couldn't get out of her bed for a month. And everyone was trying to help her. They didn't know what to do.
That's called your map getting burned right
Yeah,
there.
yes. So something happened. And then she realized that she was believing thoughts that weren't true. And then she did this whole workbook and she does workshops. So she just realized you have to, whatever happened in the past, you have to be in present time and realize what all these thoughts are happening that aren't true. And you have to slow yourself down to even know what these thoughts are sometimes.
Yeah, good
But
point.
maybe 10 years ago it was true. But is it really true today? So the work is really powerful, but it's exactly what you're saying. But I love the disruptor part of it because it brings in why change it? Because there's something more important to you.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is so great. Okay, so I want to hear from you. I want everyone to buy your book, Burn the Map. We will have the links to everything, and they can get a hold of you on your website and all these different forms, right? On your
Yeah, that'd be
website.
great.
Okay, and everyone, just know that there's hope no matter what you go through. And that's what Valerie and I are doing with both our podcasts and our books. We've been through a lot in our life, but we've never given up. And we have hope, and we're trying to give other people hope that you can have the life you want or give back. But you have to do the work. But we have a lot of tools that we've used that we want to help you with. So buy Valerie's book. Her story's amazing, and send her a lot of love. She
Oh,
deserves it.
thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I
Thanks,
really,
Terry, for
really
having
appreciate
me.
you being on today.